The desert lay behind them, a landscape etched with 40 years of wandering. Ahead stood the mighty Jordan River, the final tumultuous boundary to a promise. A nation of over 2 million souls, a massive logistical and spiritual undertaking, stood poised on the precipice of destiny. Their leader, the lawgiver Moses, was dead. And now all the weight, all the expectation, the impossible mandate to conquer and settle a promised land rested on the shoulders of one man, Joshua, son of Nun. Joshua's challenge wasn't merely military. It was the ultimate test of leadership succession and strategy deployment. How do you lead when the shadow of the greatest leader in history still stretches across your camp? How do you pivot from survival to total conquest? Joshua's journey, documented across 24 chapters, is not just ancient history. It is a battle-tested blueprint for modern management, corporate strategy, and personal resilience. This is a deep dive into Joshua's 5 golden leadership principles, strategies that secured a nation and can transform your business, project, or personal life today. The very first command Joshua received from the divine CEO was not tactical, but directional. Vision. Joshua 1:3. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you. This is a vision statement of absolute zero-doubt clarity. There is no ambiguity. The objective is total occupation. The scope is non-negotiable, stretching from the southern desert to the great river, the Euphrates. In the face of this monumental, almost unbelievable task, Joshua could not afford operational paralysis. He needed a single universally accepted source of truth that would unify the entire organization. The modern business world is cluttered with competing priorities, endless data, quarterly reports, and constantly shifting market trends. Joshua's answer to complexity? Simplicity rooted in the core strategy. Parallel analysis, the strategic mandate. Moses left a profound legacy, the Book of the Law. This was the operational Bible, the core strategy document, the definitive statement of the mission. Joshua's instruction regarding this document was simple yet radical. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Joshua 1:8. Modern business application, the power of the mission statement. In the C-suite, this is the power of the unwavering mission statement and core values. Do you have a book of law? Is your company's founding document, your product brief, or your cultural ethos so clear that every team member can recite it and apply it to daily independent decision-making? The fatal mistake of many leaders is allowing the book of law, the foundational strategy, to depart from their mouth. They suffer from strategic drift. They innovate faster than they consolidate. They focus on the next shiny object instead of deeply meditating on the proven core principles. Joshua commanded daily immersion. He insisted that success wasn't about superior weaponry, they had none, but about flawless execution of proven core principles. Success isn't found in the newest technological trend, but in the radical devotion to your company's most essential, non-negotiable value proposition. Outcome focus, the promise tied directly to this discipline. You will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Discipline equals profit.
This commitment to the foundational strategy is what gives birth to the second principle, the audacity and courage required to execute it. Recap. Principle 1. Unwavering vision. Mandate clarity. Define your objective with zero ambiguity. Total conquest equals total market share. Strategic discipline. Codify your core values into a book of law that guides all operational decisions. Prevent drift. Leadership must constantly articulate and meditate on the mission to prevent the team from pursuing side objectives. Success correlation. Prosperity is a direct result of operational obedience to the core strategy, not random luck or fleeting innovation. Focus on the foundation. The foundation is always more critical than the fleeting tactics.
Before any marching, before any miraculous crossing, Joshua did what any great general or CEO would do. He deployed 2 spies to Jericho, the massive, entrenched, walled capital of the territory. This mission was never a confidence check. This was deep intelligence gathering. A crucial element was not just surveying the physical defenses, the walls, the gates, the battlements, but measuring the human terrain. The spies returned with a critical piece of competitive intelligence supplied by Rahab, an unexpected, high-value source within the competitor's fortress. Indeed, the Lord has delivered all the land into our hands, for moreover, all the inhabitants of the country are faint-hearted because of us. Joshua 2:24. The key insight was profound. The walls were strong, but the will was weak. This intelligence completely shifted the strategy, from a long, costly siege of attrition to a psychological conquest. Parallel analysis, competitive intelligence, and market disruption. In the modern world, Jericho's wall represents the incumbent, the established market leader. The wall is intimidating, built on years of brand loyalty and massive capital. The traditional strategy would be a long, costly, and destructive siege, a price war, or a decade of slow, marginal market penetration. Joshua's strategy was disruptive in the purest sense. Instead of attacking the market's physical strength, the walls, he attacked its psychological weakness, the inhabitants' morale and fear. The 7-day march around the city was the ultimate mind game. For 6 days, the silence was broken only by the sound of the priest's feet and the chilling blare of the trumpets, not the roar of battle, but a liturgical dirge. This silence was psychologically more devastating than any barrage. It communicated, "We are so confident in our victory, we don't even need to fight you yet. Our victory is inevitable. It is scheduled." Imagine you are a highly paid general within Jericho. For a week, your enemy refuses to engage in a conventional fight. They simply circle your stronghold, treating your magnificent walls as an irritating temporary fence. The tension within the walls must have been unbearable. Every day the internal pressure mounted. When will they attack? What is the plan? Why the silence? This silence was the true siege. It drained the defenders' morale, turning their fear, which Rahab had reported, into outright panic. The climax, total disruption. On the 7th day, the rhythm changed. 7 circuits, the final trumpet blast, and the unified shout. This was the moment of total disruption. The defenders, already emotionally exhausted, physically fatigued from standing guard for 7 days, and psychologically broken by the mind games, could not withstand the final, unified shockwave. The Blue Ocean Strategy Connection. The Jericho campaign is a perfect ancient example of blue ocean strategy, creating a new market space where competition is irrelevant. Red Ocean, conventional warfare, attacking the walls directly, high cost, high risk, long timeline. Blue Ocean,
Joshua's way, attacking the will of the enemy, utilizing non-traditional weapons, the Ark of the Covenant, the priests, the trumpets, to bypass the incumbent's strength, the walls. The competition, Jericho's army, was rendered irrelevant because they were prepared for a siege, not a spectacle of faith. Pre-launch hype, crossing the Jordan. Prior to Jericho, Joshua orchestrated the crossing of the Jordan, a public, undeniable act of power. This event, which involved 12 men taking stones from the riverbed as a memorial, served a dual purpose. Internal consolidation, reminding the Israelites of the divine promise and affirming Joshua's leadership. Joshua 4:14. On that day, the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they had feared Moses all the days of his life. External intimidation. The Amorite kings heard the news, and their hearts melted. This was the ultimate pre-launch marketing campaign that established the brand, Israel, as invincible before the first battle was even thought. A great leader knows that the initial victory often happens before the engagement, not during it. It happens in the mind of the competitor, whose will to fight has already been eroded by overwhelming confidence and unexpected strategy. Principle 2. Deep intelligence and disruption. Know the human terrain. Don't just analyze your competitor's product, the wall. Analyze their morale, their internal weaknesses, and their fear. Rahab's report. Psychological warfare. Use non-traditional tactics, silence, performance, ritual, to drain the competitor's will and create paralyzing internal tension. Blue ocean strategy. Avoid the red ocean of direct competition. Use your unique assets, faith, culture, mission, to bypass the incumbent's established strength. Pre-launch strategy. Orchestrate a public, undeniable display of capability to establish your dominance and melt the heart of the opposition before the market launch. Disruption is non-conventional. The greatest victory comes from a strategy that the incumbent never prepared for.
If Principle 1 was about vision, and Principle 2 was about strategy, then Principle 3 is about the cost of compromise. It is the brutal lesson that one deviation from the core strategy, one instance of ethical compromise, can nullify the success of 1,000,000 people. Immediately after the spectacular triumph at Jericho, Joshua faced his first and perhaps most devastating failure, the debacle at the small, seemingly insignificant town of Ai. The mission should have been easy. The intelligence report was cocky and dismissive. Do not let all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and attack Ai. Do not weary all the people there, for the people of Ai are few. Joshua 7:3. Joshua, perhaps still basking in the glow of Jericho's miracle, trusted the casual intelligence. He sent 3,000 troops. The result was a catastrophic rout. 36 Israelite soldiers were killed, and the entire army fled in panic. The problem was internal. Joshua's immediate reaction was despair. He tore his clothes and lay face down before the ark, questioning the divine mission. But the answer he received was a chilling indictment of his organization. The defeat was not due to the enemy's strength, but due to internal compromise. Israel has sinned, for they have even taken some of the devoted things and have both stolen and deceived, and they have also put them among their own stuff. Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies. Joshua 7:11-12. The victory at Jericho had come with a clear mandate. All spoils, except metal, were devoted things and had to be destroyed.
Achan, son of Carmi from the tribe of Judah, violated this zero-tolerance policy. He saw a beautiful Babylonian garment, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold, and he buried them under his tent. Parallel analysis: the poison of ethical drift. In any organization, Achan represents the toxic employee or the ethical compromise buried deep within the corporate culture. The Babylonian garment is the temptation of vanity, the need for status, the corporate trophy taken outside of the rules. The silver and gold represent the fraudulent accounting, the stolen IP, the kickback, or the insider trading that promises short-term personal gain. The failure at AI was a brutal lesson in organizational accountability. The scale of consequence. The sin of one individual, Achan, resulted in the deaths of 36 innocent soldiers and the collapse of the entire nation's morale. In business, a single compliance failure, one act of fraud, or one data breach caused by a rogue employee can lead to billions in fines, the firing of the CEO, and the permanent destruction of brand trust. Leadership's first duty. Joshua's first duty was not to retaliate against Ai, but to purify the organization. The leader must be the first and most fearless advocate of integrity and zero tolerance. The process of purification. Ruthless accountability. Joshua followed a rigorous sequential process of accountability to expose the compromise. Tribal audit. The lot was cast proceeding methodically from tribe to clan to family to individual man. This was an ancient form of forensic audit, the systematic investigation of every organizational unit until the ethical breach was isolated. The confession. When Achan was identified, Joshua demanded the truth. Achan confessed, and the stolen goods were recovered from the ground beneath his tent, the literal skeletons in the closet of the organization. The zero-tolerance penalty, Trouble Valley. The penalty was swift, public, and absolute. Achan, his family, who were complicit in the hiding, and all his possessions were brought to the valley of Achar, meaning trouble, and destroyed. The lesson of Trouble Valley, Achar. The valley was named Achar because of the trouble Achan caused the entire nation. This serves as a permanent, grim reminder for any leader. Your success is not measured by your largest victory, Jericho, but by your willingness to enforce the absolute accountability required to purge internal compromise. A leader who tolerates a toxic employee, who excuses minor ethical slips, or who ignores compliance failures is in effect burying stolen treasure beneath the corporate tent. That compromise will eventually lead to the next AI, a seemingly inexplicable market failure, or a massive loss of investor confidence because the organization lost its moral footing. Moral courage is the willingness to expose the Achan in your organization, even when they are a talented performer, an old friend, or a major revenue source. The alternative is the collapse of the entire mission. Recap. Principle 3. Accountability and moral courage. One compromise poisons all. Never underestimate how a single ethical failure can nullify the collective effort of the entire team. Forensic audit. Implement rigorous, systematic processes, tribal audits, to expose hidden ethical breaches quickly. Purge is primary. In a crisis of integrity, the leader's first priority is always purification and accountability, not external retaliation. Zero-tolerance policy. Ethical rules must be binary, no gray areas for the Babylonian garment. The consequence must be known and absolute. The Valley of Achan. Leaders must possess the moral courage to dismantle the source of trouble, even when it is painful, to protect the whole organization.
The challenge of leading a conquest is quickly followed by the exponentially greater challenge of managing a massive, diverse, and now dispersed organization. Joshua's military success was ultimately a logistical and diplomatic triumph. He didn't just conquer Canaan, he had to keep the diverse tribal units, the departments and regional offices of ancient Israel, unified, engaged, and focused on the collective goal long after their personal victories had been secured. The challenge, the Transjordan tribes. Joshua faced an immediate internal risk of division from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. These tribes had already received their land east of the Jordan River, Transjordan. Their mission was complete, yet their participation was still required for the conquest of the western territories. The Strategic Agreement, Joshua 1:12-18. Joshua utilized an ancient form of strategic alliance management with these tribes. Affirmation of promise. Joshua first reminded them of their agreement with Moses. He appealed to their shared covenant and organizational loyalty. Clear delegation and delay of reward. He allowed their families and livestock to stay safe in their new land, but he issued the clear, non-negotiable mandate: all fighting men must cross the river, go before their brethren, and remain armed and engaged until the mission for all tribes was complete. Reciprocity. The agreement was based on reciprocity. Until the Lord has given your brothers rest as he has given you, and they also have taken possession of the land. The three tribes had to help secure the future market, Canaan West, for the 9.5 tribes before they could fully enjoy their own assets. Modern business application, cross-functional team loyalty. In the modern corporate world, this scenario plays out constantly. The acquired company, the Reuben-Gad tribes, are like a high-performing unit acquired by the larger corporation. They've met their goals, secured their land, but their talent is still needed to drive the larger, riskier corporate conquest. Cross-functional collaboration. A sales team that has hit its quota must still contribute to launching the next big product, Canaan West, being built by the product team, Judah. The leadership skill. Joshua had to motivate teams to work beyond their immediate self-interest and commit to the broader organizational vision. This requires a leader who can maintain trust, clarity, and an unbroken chain of accountability. Strategic delegation, the partition of the land. Joshua's greatest logistical achievement was not winning battles, but scaling governance, the process of dividing the promised land fairly and strategically among the 12 tribes. Joshua chapters 13-19. Since there were too many variables, quality of land, size of tribe, political alliances, Joshua wisely did not decide the partition himself. Instead, he employed a structured, impartial process. The survey team, intelligence gathering. He commissioned 3 men from each of the remaining 7 tribes to survey and map the land. This delegated the data gathering and assessment to the stakeholders themselves. The 7-part map, framework. The team returned with a map divided into 7 well-documented portions. This created a structured, verifiable framework for fair allocation. Impartial allocation, the lot. Joshua used the divine mechanism of the lot at Shiloh to determine which tribe received which portion. This removed any potential charge of political favoritism, protecting Joshua's neutrality and credibility as the ultimate arbiter. The lesson for succession and scaling. A great leader knows when to stop being the tactical decision-maker and start being the impartial system designer. Stop micromanaging. Joshua did not personally measure every valley and hill. He delegated the survey work. Design a fair system. He ensured the framework, the 7-part map, was clear and agreed upon by all stakeholders before the final allocation. Protect neutrality. Using the lot, or an equivalent objective metric, ensures that governance decisions are seen as impartial, preserving the leader's social capital for future crises. Recap. Principle 4.
unity and delegation. Manage acquired assets. Clearly articulate why high-performing, semi-autonomous teams must remain committed to the main corporate objective. Demand reciprocity. Commitment must extend beyond the individual team's immediate success to securing the success of the larger enterprise. Delegate data, retain decision. Delegate the complex work of assessment and fact-finding, the survey, to experts, but retain the ultimate authority for the final fair allocation, the lot. System designer. Transition from being the chief operator to the chief architect of systems and frameworks that promote fair governance and impartial resource allocation. Scaling governance. Victory is incomplete until a clear, fair, and documented system for management and resource division is established for the next generation.
Joshua's final act of leadership was perhaps his most crucial. The fighting was largely done, the land was allocated, and peace had settled over Israel. The temptation for any aging leader at this point is to simply retire and let the momentum carry the organization forward. Joshua understood that a successful conquest does not guarantee an enduring culture. The final crisis is always a crisis of memory and identity. He called two final assemblies, the first for the leaders, Joshua 23, and the second for the entire nation at Shechem, Joshua 24. These farewell speeches were masterstrokes of legacy consolidation and cultural alignment. The review and the warning, Joshua 23. To the leaders, Joshua delivered a powerful historical review and compliance warning. The history audit. He forced them to remember every single promise kept by their divine partner. You know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing has failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spoke concerning you. All have come to pass for you. Not one word of them has failed. This established undeniable proof of concept for the entire mission. The threat of dilution. He warned them explicitly about the cultural and ethical drift that could destroy their gains. Intermarriage, false gods, and assimilation with the remaining Canaanites. Modern business application. Securing the culture against dilution. This is the leader's responsibility to secure the organization against cultural dilution after a period of rapid growth or success. Legacy preservation. Every great leader must conduct a history audit, documenting and celebrating the exact process and principles that led to success. Why did we win? Warning against complacency. Joshua knew the greatest threat was peace itself. Success breeds complacency. The moment the team starts adopting the gods, i.e. the poor practices of the conquered competition, the culture begins to erode. The final challenge. The closing pitch at Shechem. Joshua's speech at Shechem is perhaps the greatest closing pitch in leadership history. He didn't just tell them what to do, he framed the entire choice as an ultimatum, a defining moment of corporate commitment. He started with a long, meticulous history, tracing the origins of the nation from Abraham across the Euphrates, meticulously listing every miracle and victory along the way. He removed every excuse for ignorance. Then he delivered the ultimate challenge. Now therefore, fear the Lord, serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the river and in Egypt. Serve the Lord. And if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. The takeaway: commitment must be chosen. Joshua demanded active, conscious buy-in for the future culture. He refused to accept passive agreement. He forced them to articulate their commitment publicly. The people answered and said, "Far be it from us that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods." Joshua then sealed the commitment with a covenant, erecting a large stone under the oak tree, a visible, physical symbol, as a witness to the vow they had made. This is the ultimate lesson for the CEO securing a new strategy or a corporate pivot. The closed-door meeting. You must gather your key stakeholders, review the mission, the history, and lay out the two clear, stark choices for the future. The demand for buy-in. You must demand that your team or board actively choose the core strategy. Passive agreement is not enough. You need vocal, public, and documented commitment. The witness. Create a physical or digital stone, a signed declaration,
a public commitment document that serves as the perpetual, tangible reminder of the organization's foundational vow. Joshua's final leadership act was not an action of war, but an action of culture creation. He understood that the legacy of a leader is not the conquest they achieve, but the system of enduring commitment they leave behind. Recap. Principle 5. Establishing legacy and the final challenge. Audit success. Regularly review and document the exact principles and miraculous events that secured past victories to reinforce confidence in the mission's core strategy. Guard the culture. Be vigilant against cultural dilution. Warn against the adoption of foreign gods, i.e., toxic competitor practices, in times of peace. Force the choice. Never accept passive agreement. Demand active, conscious, and vocal commitment from all stakeholders for the future mission. The closing pitch. Present the historical facts, the mission's proven track record, and the clear future alternatives, success versus destruction. Erect a witness. Establish a physical or digital artifact, the Shechem stone, that serves as a perpetual, tangible reminder of the organization's foundational vow.
Joshua, the faithful servant, the relentless general, the meticulous system designer, retired to the land given to him, Timnath-Serah. He died at the age of 110. His legacy was not merely the conquered territory, but the 5 golden principles he instilled: visionary clarity, strategic disruption, moral accountability, unified delegation, and enduring commitment. The conquest of Canaan was proof that strategy, discipline, and moral courage are stronger than walls of stone. Your business, your career, your life, these are your promised lands. The walls you face, market incumbents, internal fraud, strategic drift, are just as high as Jericho. The tools for their dismantling are not new. They were tested in the desert, deployed at the Jordan, and sealed at Shechem. The choice is now yours. As Joshua commanded the Israelites, we command you today. Choose for yourself this day the principle you will serve. Before you go out and face your own Jericho, take a moment to reflect on these timeless principles. If you found the courage and the clarity in Joshua's story, if these 5 golden codes have redefined the way you view leadership, let me know. Hit the like button. Let the algorithm know that timeless strategy beats fleeting tactics. Subscribe and ring the bell. This mission is only complete when we scale this knowledge. Don't miss our next deep dive in history's greatest leaders. And here's the challenge. Which of these 5 principles is the hardest for you to apply in your business? Is it the unwavering vision or the moral courage to hold your team accountable? Drop your answer in the comments below. Let's discuss the challenges of modern leadership built on ancient foundations. Thank you for watching, and remember, a true leader doesn't just manage, they command a legacy.